Well, that was interesting. I think it just went live on YouTube and I didn't even do anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, and
all right, let me see. All right. Can you see me?
I can see you. Is that a Chelsea thing in the
Chelsea till I die, mate.
So we'll see. Because I moved to let me just switch to green screen. Because I moved to 5 p.m. and Corona cocktails, we'll see who joins us. Normally we have about 3 or 4 regulars. We'll see if they join us. Wait, there is someone. Well, you got the granddaddy of Corona TV, a man who you're gonna just love to meet and connect with. By the way, Tony Satcher, do you know who that is? He said, "Go Tiger."
Yeah. I know. I know Tony.
Tom Morris.
Hey guys, this is great. This is great. Here, it's so good that I completely emptied my glass. You know?
Oh wow!
You guys.
I'm gonna go on Scotch number 2.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Kuda, thanks for what you're doing, man. This is such important stuff, and you have all the right attitudes, man. You've been blessed with all the right perspectives on what business should be. It's not a money machine. It's an engine for human good. It's a way of improving the human condition, you know, and we have too few visionaries in the world, although it's starting to turn around. One of my friends who's CEO of Fortune magazine, he interviews CEOs all the time for a podcast he has. And, you know, the old view of business used to be it's to make money, it's for the shareholders to increase their stock value, you know, pay the shareholder. And now the view has been changing for the past couple of years. More and more CEOs are starting to wake up and say, hey, it's about every stakeholder, not just shareholders. It's about everybody who's got skin in the game. And that's pretty much everybody, our communities, our countries, our fellow citizens. And so the kind of good you're trying to do with your business, man, you're leading the way. So thank you so much for your heart, your soul, your mind being all in this for the good.
Thank you so much. Is your friend Alan?
Yeah, Alan Murray. Yeah.
I receive his emails every day because
he's a good guy.
This CEO daily, and for me, that's how I actually get news.
Good.
So I actually read that and don't watch everything else. And just focus on his email. So I'll
tell him that the next time I talk to him. Yeah, he's a very good guy.
You have a raving fan out here, and you know, when I talk to people and they're like, "Oh, how do you know all of this stuff?" I just put them like, "Go subscribe on this." Like,
yeah, good. He'll love that. He'll get a big kick out of that. Also, I'm good friends with John Mackey, the founder of Whole Foods.
Oh wow!
You know, the man who wrote the book Conscious Capitalism, and he's got a new book that he just sent me a copy of yesterday called The Conscious Leader. And I don't even know if it's out yet. It may be, but I just got my copy yesterday, so I haven't started yet. But you guys are doing the right thing. You're setting a paradigm for everybody else to follow. And it's a very exciting time to be a businessman.
Well, what I would love to do for you, Tom, is I would love to send you a box of cookies. Same thing with you, Joseph, because you are like,
it's about bloody time. It's about bloody time you said that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, so I'll you know, Joseph, if you can get like the addresses and everything, shoot me a text.
Yeah.
They'll be on me, and you guys get to try them, and just know that for every box, for every cookie actually that we send out, we're feeding someone. So
you know, that is so beautiful, brother. I appreciate that, and I'm going to get Joseph to send you a copy of my newest book, Plato's Lemonade Stand. You know the old saying, when life hands you lemons, make lemonade? Everybody says it, but nobody says how. So I look back at all the great philosophers to see what they said about how do we do that? How do we turn difficulty into delight? And it sounds like you're a master at doing that. So you'll love this. I'll send you a copy for sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And
Oh my
look,
God.
I loved your version, Joseph. I looked it up and found out. Your version, Kuda, your version is the best. Steve Jobs had a version of that thing. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. He was paraphrasing Kierkegaard, the Danish philosopher, father of existentialism, who said, and here's a quote from Kierkegaard, "It's quite true what philosophy says, that life must be understood backward, but then one forgets the other principle, that it must be lived forward," he says. So you did a better job than Kierkegaard or Steve Jobs. So I like your version.
Hey, thank you so much. But yeah, I probably, you know, heard it somewhere and it stuck into my subconscious. So that's why I didn't want to claim it, you know, because then I was like, no, you know, probably someone else has said it.
But the cool thing is this, a Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, the best ideas belong to everybody. And when you take them into your heart and your mind, you make them your own, and you end up sometimes saying them better than the original person did, you know?
Yep.
And then you pass them on to other people like that, and they make them their own. So that's the wonderful thing about this, you know?
That is true. And one thing we just need to teach Joseph is not to wear that cap. That is,
I change it again.
Is wearing now. But anyway, we do work with Tottenham, so we love them from a professional perspective.
I remember when you emailed me and you said we've just signed a deal with them.
Yeah. We just did the deal with them. Their collection is going to be launching in a couple of weeks, so you know, once it's out, I'll make sure I let you know. But yeah, they're part of the family now, so we're happy to have them.
That's great.
I'm taking vociferous notes. Tom, did you have any notes today?
My notes today have stars in the margins. They have green, they have red, they have yellow. You said so many important things today, Kuda, that I had to write it all down. So I'll go over it later on. I'll post it on Facebook. I'll post it on LinkedIn for other people, so they'll go to the YouTube. They'll see the recorded show if they missed it live.
Tom, this is your best after show ever, because you get to completely, you know, it's just us. I mean, I like
Joseph
it too.
usually has to shut me up, you know, because and I think a lot of people just, they had dinner, that kind of thing, so they couldn't come tonight. But I ate a little bit early, you know. I had pizza, I had a nice Cabernet. I ate a little early, and so because I didn't want to miss this. And Joseph usually has to mute me. He actually sometimes has to mute me because I get so excited. But especially somebody like you, Kuda, who has seen from your childhood on what a difference a good business can make when you solve other people's problems.
Mm-hmm.
You get to solve not only your own, but a lot of other people's as well. And that's a magnifying effect, you know.
And one of the things I think about is that, you know, the life that you're saving or making a difference, that could be the next Nelson Mandela.
Absolutely.
You have no idea.
No idea. That's right. You're absolutely right.
And for me, that's kind of like what's super important, because, you know, Joseph kind of like touched on it a little bit, but I came to America with only $40 in my pocket.
Oh, I didn't get to ask you about that. Did you literally only have $40?
I had two 20s in my pocket. That's all I had. And the way it happened, and this is actually an interesting backstory. We never really touched into the story, but when I was around 10, I would walk to school 2 miles and then take the bus back, because my parents could only give me money for one trip. So I would, you know, in the morning, I'd be like, you know what, I'm waking up, I have a lot of energy, let me just walk. And then when I'm tired at the end of the school, that's when I'll take the bus. But every morning I would see a group of kids my age in pajamas playing around in their yard, and everybody else is going to school. So I always used to wonder, I was like, are they homeschooled? What's the situation with them? What's special? So one day I missed the bus so that I would walk back home. And then I went to their house and I was like, hey guys, can I play with you? They're like, sure. And we just started to play and whatnot. And then I asked them like, hey, what do you guys want to be when you grow up? And one of the girls looked at me like, you know, like, are you crazy? Like, why are you asking us that question? And her words were, Kuda, our parents are dead. We don't go to school. We're just waiting to die. And I'm like, why did I even ask? Like,
wow.
And I realized in that moment that they didn't go to school because they were living with their grandmother. They were orphans. And as a result, you know, they were just like, you know, just living life saying like, hey, I can't dream to be a lawyer, a pilot, or whatever. We're just going to die. They had kind of like reconciled that in their mind.
Wow.
And for me, that was a turning point in my life. It's one of the days in my life I'll never forget, because that's when I started having the dream to come to America. Because in my mind, I was like, okay, public education in Zimbabwe is not free. You have to pay. So if your parents can't afford it, you're not getting an education. So if the government in Zimbabwe is not doing anything, if these business people in Zimbabwe are not doing anything to make a difference, I need to leave, go somewhere else, make something of myself, become super successful and make a difference. And that's the reason why the business I started when I was in college, we would donate money to educate kids in Zimbabwe. So we sent more than 100 kids to school through that t-shirt company that I started.
Wow.
But because I grew up in a low middle class family, my dad worked for the post office. So I didn't come from money or anything like that.
Yeah.
For me to be able to come to America, I had only one way to do it, by a scholarship. I had to get a scholarship.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that when I graduated high school and I'll tell everybody like, hey, I'm going to go to America, everybody would laugh and like, Kuda, you're crazy. It doesn't happen to people like us, right? We don't have money. And I was like, but it's going to happen to me. And the irony is I get a full ride scholarship to the best university in Zimbabwe. And I wanted to come to America.
Wow.
And at that point in time, I had to make a decision. And I always tell people that this is the day I became a man, because I turned down that scholarship. My parents were pissed off. You know, everybody thought I was crazy. They thought I was on drugs. And they were like, why are you turning down this opportunity to go and study and become an engineer?
Yeah.
And I told them, I'm like, this is not my dream.
Yeah.
If I take this, I am playing second fiddle. I'm going for plan Z. I don't want to go to school in Zimbabwe. I want to go to America because I want to make a difference. And it took me 2 years from that day I said no to when I finally got the scholarship and I finally was able to leave. So for 2 years, I would have to leave with people saying, we told you so.
Yeah.
We told you so.
Yeah.
You see, you're crazy.
Yeah.
But I had to sacrifice everything. I had all chips in. This is going to work one way or the other.
Yeah.
And because I didn't have the resources, I decided to become resourceful. So what I did is I went to an internet cafe and I asked for a job. And I was like, hey, can I work night shift here? And the guy was like, sure, because I needed internet. I needed internet to study for my SAT. I needed internet to apply to colleges. So what I would do is I would work from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m., close the shop down, sleep in the internet cafe, and for the whole night, I would have free internet. And that's when I would study for my SAT. That's when I would write all my college applications and do all that stuff, because I didn't have internet at home.
Yeah.
But if I had let that become a barrier to say like, oh, I don't have internet and I don't have money for internet, so I won't apply or I can't study for my SAT, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
So that's how I came to America. And when I was coming, my parents could only give me $40.
Yeah.
So yeah, I literally came to America with $40 in my pocket.
I mean, just when you thought Kuda's story couldn't get more incredible. So you didn't answer the question. I need you to connect the dots moving forward. What the hell did you do with $40? I mean, how many Starbucks Frappuccinos can you afford with $40?
I didn't even know what a Starbucks was. And to be honest, I don't remember what I used the $40 for. Yeah. But
what did you do first? What did you do next?
Well, to be honest, the first thing I did was I looked for a job on campus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I knew that $40 wasn't going to get me that far. So what I did is I went department after department. I first went to the admissions office because those were the people I knew because they were recruiting me and they didn't have a job for me. And then I went to the purchasing department and I was very skinny when I came. Like if I show you pictures,
You're
you
still
guys
skinny.
will laugh. I'm still skinny, but I was skinnier than this.
Yeah, yeah.
So like when I went into the purchasing department, they were like, Kuda, we want to give you a job, but it's a lot of lifting. I was like, I'll do it. Like I need the job. And they gave me the job. And Elias, he went to school with me. So he knows part of my story. He's about
Hi,
to
Elias.
join.
Welcome.
Yeah. That's great.
Elias,
Hey, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for joining. I was just telling these guys, do you remember when I first came to Lynn, how skinny I was?
Yes.
That's funny. That's funny. When were you
Yeah.
there? When were you there, Kuda? When were you at Lynn University? I asked because I gave a speech at Lynn about 20 years ago and had a wonderful time. It's a great place.
Oh, wow.
When I was
was
teaching
there.
in Notre Dame. Yeah.
I was there from 2005 to 2010.
So I was probably there right before you got there, you know. So if I
You
just hung
probably-
around a little bit, I could have met you.
Yeah, you probably were there when Elias was there because Elias was maybe 2 or 3 years my senior.
Okay. Okay.
What years were you there, Elias?
I was there from 2003 through 2008.
I used to give
Yeah.
speeches at the Boca Raton Resort and Club all the time. And I launched my first trade book, my first commercial book in 1994 was called
Mhm.
True Success, A New Philosophy of Excellence. And I launched it at the Liberty's bookstore in the Boca, the plaza, you know, there in
Right,
Boca,
right.
the Meisner
Mhm.
Plaza.
Yeah.
And at Liberty's bookstore, they said, and I had like 400, 800 people or something. I was so excited because so many people had come to see me. And I said, hey, we got a big crowd here. And the owner of the bookstore said, you should have been here yesterday for Stephen King. He had 4,000 people. That put me in my place. But it's a beautiful book. I used to take my family every time I spoke at the Boca Club to, you know, businesses, corporations having retreats. I used to always take my family once every 3 or 4 months. We'd be at the Boca Club, and my kids grew up knowing kids from New Jersey whose parents were always vacationing at the Boca Club. In fact, I got the most serious disease of my life at Nick's Seafood in the Boca Club, a piece
Oh
of
my
grouper
God.
that gave me a neurotoxin that put me in bed for 6 weeks, put me in the
Wow.
Mayo Clinic, and I had symptoms for 5 years of a
Oh,
serious
wow.
neurological problem from a $250 meal that cost me $150,000 instead.
Wow.
You see,
Wow.
But yeah, so
this is why I love the after show. Not only did we find out more about Kuda,
yeah.
but we found out more about Tom that we wish we hadn't found out.
Yeah,
but,
we met Elias too. We got him too. So.
Yeah, exactly. Welcome. But
and then-
this is the magic of the after show.
Yeah,
Go,
and
Elias.
Elias and
Can I
I.
ask a question? Am I?
Oh, Heidi.
wait.
Hey, Heidi.
Sorry. Hi. Hi, Kuda. Sorry, I'm sitting
You got to
in the
come
dark.
off camera.
I know I'm in a dark room, so I'll come off, but you won't see much more. Hang on. I hope you won't anyway.
Oh, that's good. I didn't think of that. That's pretty smart, Heidi. I should do that myself.
This is
That's much
this
more
is one of
popular.
those rolling power outages in South Africa, Kuda.
I know about that. In Zimbabwe,
but
it's
I'm
even
in bed.
longer.
Yeah.
So anyway, so what I wanted to ask you, Kuda, I've missed bits of this. So I've been in and out. But how did you know that you could follow this dream and do it? Because you had such a drive to overcome such obstacles. I mean, to give up the scholarship, to actually get to America, like what gave you that like seed of knowing that you could do it, and to push yourself so out of your comfort zone as you were talking about? And you know, it's
Yeah.
Great
incredible.
question.
So one of the things I realized was that we as mankind, we don't have limits to a couple of things. We don't have limits to our imagination, and we also don't have limits to our determination. There are no limits to that. And for me, that was really kind of like the driving force behind everything that I kind of like did, because I was just always pushing myself to say like, hey, if I can imagine it, I can do it. If I can imagine it, I can do it. And it just fed into my determination. And it wasn't easy. I won't sit here and claim to you that it was the easiest thing. You know, there was sometimes when I would be like 3 a.m. up saying like, hey, God, is this gonna happen? Am I gonna go to America? Like, what's gonna happen? There was so much uncertainty, especially for that 2-year period. Because I'd been accepted at Lynn, but I had to defer my entry because I didn't have the money, and continue to look for more scholarships and, you know, and so forth and so forth. And then it just so happened that, you know, I had a dose of grace that just happened in my life, and it opened the doors. But what that did for me is it then became this example that I have in my back pocket whenever I want to do something that might seem out of reach. I always go back and think about what I've been through and what I've done. But more importantly, I also look at other people. So we were talking about Tony Robbins, right? And again, right now to this day, I pinch myself to think that him and I were like business partners and things like that. But at 17, he was homeless, sleeping in his car, hungry with nothing. And look at what he's been able to create. Again, it's your imagination and your determination, and it's unlimited from a perspective. You can dream today to say like, hey, I want to go beyond the moon, and you can work hard at it, and eventually you'll do it. So similar to like when Kennedy said, you know, in my presidency, we're gonna land an American in the moon. He didn't know what he was gonna do. It was his imagination, and then it happened.
Yeah.
So I
And
don't
it's
know if I
belief
answered
as
your
well.
question, but
Yeah.
that's the way I can explain it.
So it's your belief as well. So it's not only the imagination and determination, but the pure, utter belief that you just know that you can make it work and happen.
Yeah.
That's so important. I had an old friend. He was my friend when I was 12 years old, and he wanted to be a great musician, but he didn't seem to have any talent at all. But he moved to a music city, Nashville, Tennessee, and he decided to be, because he couldn't sing, he couldn't play the tambourine, his main instrument. He was no good, but he figured I could write songs. So he started writing songs, and all our friends would say, this guy has no talent at all. There's no hope for this kid at all. But he had imagination, he had determination, he had belief, and he ended up writing 24 #1 songs, 55 top 5 songs. And I once asked him, I said, hey, Don, when you got to Nashville, Tennessee, how many songwriters were there in Nashville? He said about 3,000. I said, how many of them made money writing songs? He said about 100. And I said, did you know the odds against your success? He said, Tom, I didn't care. It didn't matter. He said, it was in my heart to do. There was no plan B. He said, I had to succeed. And that's the kind of person who does. Your $40 reminds me of a friend of mine who was a musician in Argentina. He wanted to come to America. He somehow scrounged up $100, but went to New York City, where $100 goes about as far as $40 in Florida, right? He got to New York City. He had seen pictures of the Beatles and the Rolling Stones on 57th Street in New York City. And he wanted to go to work there. He wanted to be in the music business, in a guitar store, in a music store. So he, like you at the internet cafe, he said, I'll do anything. Let me work at night. I'll do anything. He said, they put me to work shoveling out the basement that had never been cleaned in 50 years. He said it was hot, it was smelly, it was awful. I was sweating all the time. I cried every day, he said, but it was 48th Street. I was on 48th Street, he said. It was living my dream on 48th Street. And when he's telling me this story, he's the founder and CEO of the most famous guitar shop in New York City, Rudy's Music. He recently sold one of my guitars that I once bought for $200. He sold it for me for $17,900. Rudy deals with Lenny Kravitz. He deals with all the great musicians. They come into his shop, and he like you, came to America with a dream, a persistence, a belief. I love stories like that, Kudu, because it shows everybody, don't be a victim, be a victor. You know, don't be held back. launch forward in life. It's amazing what the world could be like if more people were like you and like my friend Rudy.
Wow, I love that. Don't be a victim, be a victor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is that a Kierkegaard or is that a Morris?
That's me, because my parents named me Thomas Victor Morris. And so I've always meditated on what is it to be a victor? What is it to be a victor? Frame your situation to empower you, not to make you a victim, you know? And it's amazing what you can accomplish. And you're living proof of that, Kuda. And I'm sure that in addition to all the good you're doing with your business, your example does every bit as much good for other people. You as a person showing them the path they can live. See, I'm a philosopher. In the ancient world, philosophy used to be a path. It used to be a way of living, not just a bunch of ideas, not just a bunch of questions. And so I've been trying to bring philosophy back to the way of living, the path for life, success, and fulfillment, exactly what you're living. And so when I can say to people, look at Kuda Bisa, look at what he's done, they'll say, yeah, maybe I can go and do something like that myself. So it's just so awesome.
Yeah. And I'll say something real quick, which is I wouldn't have been able to do it without people around me. So let's take my parents, for example. So they were pissed off, right, when I turned down the scholarship. But the very next day, my dad came to me and he was like, if that's what you want to do, we'll support you 100%. So they supported me.
That's
and
awesome.
Even when I went to Lynn, right, Elias, he was like my mentor. He took me under his wing.
Good job, Elias.
Yeah. And I remember my second job, because I was working 2 jobs, was at the coffee shop at Lynn, and Elias and I were working together as the baristas making coffee for people. And we would spend hours just, connecting. And since he had been in America for maybe 2-3 years at that time, wow. He was kind of like showing me the ropes, all the different things that I had to do. Oh, this is how you need to go get a social security number, go get a driver's license, this and that.
That's awesome.
And it was through having people like Elias around that I was able to just tackle one thing at a time. I became a resident assistant because Elias was an RA, and that cut down my bill. And
so he was your mentor. He was your mentor in those early years, right? That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so now you're passing it on. You're paying it forward, being mentor for other people,
Yeah. So if I hadn't met people like him and others, I wouldn't be where I am. So I would never claim to say like, hey, it's all because of me or whatever. There were people around me that helped me achieve a lot of success. And even Joe, right? We're talking about crockpot cuisine. It eventually became a success, but it was because of bringing outside thinkers like yourselves into the mix. And obviously as the project lead or the guy who was leading the project, I then eventually get the credit, but it's not for me, right? I was just the quarterback, but someone has to catch the ball. Right? Someone has to tell me the play, It
takes a village, right? It takes a village.
It takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah. But look at, for example, how we've come together again after all these years. And, for me, the most profound, there's so many profound things that have come out of today. One of them is I have a new business idea, which Tom's going to like. It's a new podcast with Tom and myself, and it's called The Philosopher and the Marketer. I feel like we have to do something together. Anyway,
each of us needs more of the other, right? Philosophy needs more marketing, and marketing needs more philosophy. So
I don't think anything needs more marketing. I think, but I do think the world needs more good marketers, and there aren't many.
If I could tell you what philosophers typically get paid, you'd change your mind about that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's okay because marketers sold their soul to the devil. So, but the most profound thing that came out of today, and I'm still kind of like stewing on it, is, I worked with Kuda. He was my client. Mm-hmm. And I've learned more about him in 45 minutes or 50 minutes than I did in all that time. And it's a monstrous thought, right? Which is, we know people, but do we really know them? Do we take the time to get to know them? Do we care? Do we, you know, of course we care, but if we care, then we would like spend the time. But our mechanisms, like Kuda was like, the mechanisms do not promote, as Kuda was saying, colleges, they create managers. They don't even create managers, right? They create managers. They don't create entrepreneurs. Our society doesn't create that built-in empathy that says, before we do the business deal, before you hire me, before you you know, let's really get to know one another. And this is how easy it is. This is how easy it is to spend an hour of your life to like understand a life and understand how powerful it is, and it can change you in 1 hour. And how many
I'm gonna say something really fast before I leave, because I have to run to a meeting. But you said something really important, Joseph. You know, you can meet someone in an hour, and I think that's one of Kuda's biggest attributes. He's a very good listener. He's a great listener, and you can get the same from him if you listen to him as well. There's a lot of things that he will teach you just by listening. Sometimes he will not get back to you right away, but he will take that with him and he will get back to you. And that's when you realize, you know, like, it's someone that cares, and they don't just listen, take it with them, and that's it. They come back to you with that advice you actually asked for. And with Kuda, I think we learned a lot together. It wasn't just me showing him things. We learned a lot together, and it had a lot to do with the fact that we came from similar background. I'm based in Mexico City right now, but we both wanted to become pilots. We both wanted to fly. And then when we got to Lynn, everything changed completely. We made our great efforts to get to study what we wanted to do, to fly planes. And at the end, you know, I think our interest changed completely. And at the same time, I think I'm glad they did. Because now you see what Kuda turned into. He's not an airline pilot. He is actually changing people's lives. He wants to change the world, which is great, and I find that amazing. And in my case, I'm not an airline pilot either. I consider myself a people's person. I like to talk to people, and I think that pilots are very lonely people sometimes, you know. And in my case, I turned to education. I work in the education field. And so I like to be in contact with people. I like to be in contact with students. You know, I like to be in contact with people like you guys. And like you said, this is it's very enriching on its own. And I like this conversation. Wish I could stay for a little longer, because I know that Kuda has a lot more to squeeze off.
Tom, do you want to tell Elias that we're here every day?
You're here every day, Elias. You got to come back. And you know, the thing that impresses me about the airline thing and what both of you are doing now, both of you, the continuity is this: both of you are helping take people where they need to go, which is what you would have done if you were airline pilots, right? But you're doing it in a very different way now. In education and in business, you're taking people to where they need to go. So that's the continuity between the very different adventures along the way.
That is true. It's a great way of seeing it, you know, and I totally agree with you on that one, Tom.
That's very good, Elias.
Well, listen, Elias, you can come anytime, and Kuda, you're now. So let me tell you, just to like, you know, for perspective, Tom is a double PhD at Yale. He was a professor at Notre Dame. He's written over 30 books. He's a global keynote speaker. He was referred to me through a speaker bureau as one of the top guys to like interview. Tom, as an aside, you and I have to like watch our interview and just I think it will be hilarious.
How long ago was that, Joseph? I've been trying to tell people how long.
I don't even know because I don't even know.
Yeah, it was a while.
And I said to Tom what I'm saying to Kuda, what I'm saying to Elias, which is, you can come back anytime. Most people don't. Tom did.
I'm here almost every day. He can't get rid of me. I'm like the house guest who will not leave. You know?
Almost every day. And you know what? You know, Albert Einstein died still writing and still thinking and regretting that he could have thought more and created more and done more. And that is Tom. He's continuously learning, and not only learning, but teaching. He teaches me and he teaches everyone. And so Elias and Kuda, every day, you know, the show is live on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, LinkedIn, and then the after show begins. And I tell you, the after show is, if it can be said, even better than the show. But and for whatever reason, it's weird because it's small and intimate. Haiti comes, you know, most of the time she's off camera. It's midnight in South Africa right now, on almost 1. And it's just something special about the people that are part of this. So trust me on this one.
Yeah.
You know, it's
and if he doesn't see you again, I can tell you guys something. If he doesn't see you again, coming and visiting the after show, he'll hire a detective to go out and find you, because he'll know there's something wrong, you know.
I'm sure I'll be back. I'm sure I'll be back.
I will. I'll call Mackie.
John Mackey, call me. Tony Robbins, call me. We're Heidi Furman, call me. We're going to shut it down. This has been, you know, this is what Corona Cocktails is meant to be. Kuda, it's been so awesome, man. This has been like just fantastic.
It's been
Can
amazing.
I say something before we end off?
Yeah,
you can. Yeah. It's always, everyone wants to say one more thing, and then the next thing we know, it's 2 hours.
Well, it's probably the most I've ever said on an after show, actually. So thanks.
All right, you have the last word, Heidi.
So, well, Tom was talking about Victor and victory, and so it just reminded me of Viktor Frankl.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the kind of spirit that Kuda has, you know,
Yes.
just against the odds. You just push through and just made such a beautiful success story and such an inspiring success story that I'm still sitting here with goosebumps from head to toe. Just, I'm so grateful to have joined this evening, and thank you, Kuda. It's such a beautiful pleasure meeting you and your inspiring spirit. And Elias, lovely to meet you too. And Tom and Joe, always great to see you guys, even though you don't see me.
Thank you so much, Heidi.
Likewise, Heidi.
Unbelievable forever.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's go, everyone.
Yeah. All right, we send it out there.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. This is Joe.
Huh? Who said that?
Me. Don't forget to send me the addresses for the cookies.
Yeah. And I want to get his
wait.
so that I can send him a book too. Yeah.
You're sending cookies to Tom, myself, and you're sending cookies all the way to South Africa?
Well, the immigration will probably eat them. I tried to send some to Colombia, and they're still.
All right. When Heidi comes to visit, we'll get her some cookies. But I will send you. I'll send you the addresses. Guys, have a great evening.